series by sharing information about your organization or the vision and in your editorial focus. And in our last webinar, when we talked about actual campaign planning, we talked about the idea of balancing your appeals with other meaningful communications, things that offer additional value, because you're going to be asking your readers for donations and you're going to be asking them often. So give them something else. So, you know, why events? I am an event planner. You know, in addition to running the membership program at BOSD, I planned a lot of different events, mission-driven ones in particular, for cultural institutions, art museums, community groups, and other nonprofits. And I feel like an event is a great way of offering value to your readers. And I think especially for us in the world of digital news, getting offline and building real connections with our constituents is just a great thing that people sometimes crave. It allows all of our readers to participate in a dialogue about timely issues. And also people like to meet other folks and continue to build their network. And if you all have a common interest of being civically minded or liking certain issues and being passionate about different areas, getting your readers together in one place is a great way to keep deepening that connection. But also, you know, events can be another form of journalism. You're creating valuable content and you're adding another dimension and layer to your reporting. It's all in how you want to interpret some of your reporting and your issues. But before you dive into event planning, I think we should all take a step back and think about what would make your event successful. One other thing, I actually pulled this from Tristan's webinar, the second one. Like, another great thing about events is that it can build your lists for you. We talked about using different ticketing mechanisms like Eventbrite to build your email lists, because once NewsMatch is over, you're still going to be fundraising in 2018 and 2019. So don't forget to think about the long term. Use all of these tools to your advantage to capture email subscribers and get them in that welcome series afterwards, so you can continue to cultivate them even if they didn't give this time around. So before you dive right into event planning, just think about what would make an event successful for you. I don't feel like you need to plan an event because you feel like it's something that you feel like you have to do, or it's something that you see all of your peers doing and you think it's trendy and it's something that you need to jump on. Events can come in all different shapes and sizes, and there's nothing worse than putting all of your time, energy, and money into something, and you're not even sure what you're trying to achieve with it. So, you know, when I was at Voice of San Diego, I came up with my own set of personal requirements. And these are all the things that an event had to do. And for example, an event needs to make money. This could be a fundraising gala. This could be something like, I want to get ticket sales or something and make $1,000 off of ticket sales, or even $500 off of ticket sales. On the other hand, you can have a free event as long as it doesn't cost you money. To me, that could be a success as well. Perhaps the event needs to attract new donors, new members, new people who actually are going to donate towards you. And maybe your event needs to reach new audiences. That could be a goal. You could try to reach new audiences, you know, age or demographic wise, or geography. By geography, if you're, you know, a locally focused news organization, or you're trying to tap into other people. You also need to, your event could fulfill a member benefit. So, you know, when we had a membership program at Voice of San Diego, one of our biggest, you know, incentives for people to join is that you're going to get free tickets to all of these things throughout the course of the year, all of these events, all of these opportunities for you to get connected with issues and meet reporters and meet like-minded people. Or an event needs to add to the conversation. You know, you could be a leader, a thought leader in a very timely issue in your region or in your field. And if you're able to gather experts and panelists together and contribute to the dialogue and move it forward, then, you know, that's a great way that an event is successful. And so for me, if I could check off about 4 or 6 of these requirements, then it justified, you know, why I wanted to do an event and help me prioritize my goals. And I think just, you know, like starting a campaign in October, November, December, you have to think about what is good for your organization, for your own capacity, and what you want your event to look like. So maybe try to come up with some metrics of your own and make sure everybody, in your organization's on the same page about why you're doing something, and you can work towards the same goals together. So I'm going to bring up 2 events that I helped plan at Voices San Diego and show, how I justified why this was something that we needed to do. So the first one is a really simple happy hour event that we did during NewsMatch last year. And this event was purely social, and you'll see in the next one that you can have another event that's very content driven. So going through the list, did it make money? Yes, we had a bar partner, a local bar gave us the venue for free, and they also stepped up to donate 20% of the proceeds of all bar sales back to our campaign. It didn't bring in a lot of money, but it was really good leverage that we could use when we promoted the event. We said, hey, everything that you do tonight will help reach our campaign, whether you buy a membership tonight, if you donate, make an extra contribution, or even buy a beer, you're all going to help us reach the finish line. Also, it didn't cost us money. We had a free venue which came with AV, and we didn't have to put any money towards rentals or anything like that. It also attracted new donors. We had a membership pop-up shop on site, and we sold memberships. The bar was also a great partner. We asked them if they'd be willing to donate a beer give a free beer to every person who joined on site. And, that was something new that we had tried. We had partnered with them many times before, but I never thought about that as an incentive until last year. So I just asked. You never know unless you're going to ask. Reach new audiences. I wouldn't necessarily say that this event reached a new audience for us. It was in a neighborhood where we had a lot of visibility already. So, but that's okay, because I've already, checked off other things off this list. Fulfill a member benefit. Yes, it was part of our annual events offering, so that was great. Add to the conversation. No, it didn't do that because it was purely social. On the other hand, this is an example of an event that's very focused on content. Didn't make money. We had an event that was free and open to the public, and we didn't have any sponsorships or anything from that. What did it cost us money? Well, no, because we partnered with the public library and we got a free venue. So that's the win in my book. And it attracted new donors. Yes, we got a lot of new email leads because it was promoted to the library's patrons. We used Eventbrite. And even though it was free, we required that you have to RSVP in advance. So we probably got 200 new emails that would have never come to us in any other way, except for we had a timely event about fake news that was held in January in a neighborhood that we had never really been to before. And we got our partners to promote it to their audience. And so I think it checked off all of these things. And so 4 out of 6 looks good to me, and it completely justified why we put effort into this type of event. And also adding to the conversation. As a local news organization, we had to tie national conversations back to our region. And one of our freelance writers happened to be an editor at Snopes. So everything just seemed aligned in this instance. But as far as NewsMatch goes, I wanted to bring up a specific question from the FAQ. Would admission fees for an event count as a donation? And they specifically say no, earned revenue cannot count. The purpose of NewsMatch is to so you can't have ticket sales or things where people are going to be getting goods and services in return count towards NewsMatch.
Will you repeat that one more time? Christina, you froze for a sec.
Oh, yes. So I wanted to just bring up a note about making money because in previous slides I talked about ticket sales making money, but for the sake of NewsMatch specifically, there is a line in the FAQ on the INN page that asks about admission fees towards would that count as the donation? And no, earned revenue does not count. At the end of NewsMatch, you will be required to provide reporting on who your money is coming from and when they gave. And it can't be something that they got a good or service in return for, because the whole purpose of NewsMatch is to continue building relationships with individual donors. And so any sort of transactional fees, like tickets, will not count. So how can you work NewsMatch into your events and keep making money? So since you can't count tickets, here are a couple of ideas that you can use. Create a pop-up shop and promote on-site donations, and manually track those who give you cash or check. You could have a tip jar, but as long as you take notes of who gave it and capture the appropriate information, you can always follow up to send them a receipt afterwards, a tax acknowledgement letter, or whatever, and use that data to report back to NewsMatch. You can bring your computer and take donations through your website. And I say take donations through the donation processing system that you're going to use for the whole campaign. I am not a big fan of things like Square. While it's convenient for on-site donations, it doesn't provide the reporting that you will need to submit to NewsMatch afterwards. So typically what I do is check in with the venue, see if they're going to have Wi-Fi. If they don't, I'll bring a hotspot, and I'll make sure that our donation processing system is up, and I'll quickly process donations on site, and all of the data that you need will be there for reporting. Make sure you weave NewsMatch into everything that you're doing. If you're going to be at a bar, have some signs. If you're going to have a panel discussion, do a rolling slideshow beforehand. As people are settling in and you have a projector, this is a great way to acknowledge all of your sponsors and members and donors throughout the course of the year, and make sure you pepper in slides about NewsMatch, saying like, we're in the middle of our year-end campaign. Every gift will be matched dollar for dollar, so please take a moment to donate now. Make sure all of your staff members are prepped with any talking points, whether this is your CEO, executive director, who's going to be coming on stage and making the formal welcome and, a broad ask to everybody in the audience, or just making sure that some of your other, development staff or reporters are at least prepped with some talking points should they get any questions. Just make everybody a champion for NewsMatch. And if you're going to have a social event, ask a donor to come with a check in hand and apply some peer pressure. At that last happy hour that we did for NewsMatch last year at Voice of San Diego, a donor came with $1,000, and we weren't even planning that. It was just a surprise, but we asked if it was something that we could announce during our remarks and use it as leverage. And we asked people to step up and follow her example. And, it was a great way to recognize her. And that was something that she was comfortable with. But it also just, you see other people leading by example. And so, people stepped up to give that night as well. Make it easy for your donors to give. If they're going to give by cash, have a cash box. If they're going to give by check, tell them that in advance. You can even set a goal for your event. Like tonight, we want to raise $1,000 for NewsMatch, $2,500 for NewsMatch. And you can do that by making a check and giving a donation, or, just telling people what your goal is again, and being transparent about what you're trying to achieve. So that's and then for those of you, if your readers aren't local, this is a great example of a gathering for people who are scattered all over the country. Set up a digital hangout. So invite reporters to talk about a recent story or hold a Q&A with an editor. Again, like what INN has done for these webinars, require that you sign up on Eventbrite in order to get the registration link. You're capturing emails, and you're providing kind of an exclusive experience for those who want to step up and participate. You could try doing Facebook Live to reach a broader audience. You can make it interactive and ask readers to text you questions or submit them ahead of time. But most importantly, no matter what you do, drive it back to the campaign and drive them back to your donation page. I know with Facebook Live, you might be tempted to include that Facebook donate button, but remember with Facebook fundraisers, you're not going to get the same amount of reporting that you'll need to submit to all of the NewsMatch documentation afterwards. So there's so many different things that you can try, and there's ways to keep it simple, ways to keep it low cost. Just do not overthink it and just focus on your goals of engaging people and raising money. And so that's pretty much it that I have for slides. And there's one other point that I wanted to bring up is don't forget about the follow-up. I know when you're planning an event, it's, you're just thinking about getting it off the ground and executing it, but take some time beforehand and write out, before the event even starts, write out a couple paragraphs that say, thank you so much for coming. Thank you those who weren't there. And just do a quick recap of the event, add in some quotes and some things that actually happened, and then ask them to support your campaign. It's really important to not, forget to close the loop on this opportunity. You have them in-house, you have them connecting with you, so you don't want them to forget about you. So it looks like Tristan has been busy in the chat. Let's see, are we all caught up here? Does anybody have any? Okay, let's see.
Feel free to also unmute yourself and ask questions if that's easier for you.
Can I ask a question really quickly?
Yeah.
This is a question. It's already, hi, I'm from the Colorado Independent. I'm seeing this question in there twice, and I just wanted to know, we pretty much have to use Square because otherwise we'll lose some credit card donations. So I just want to know what exactly we need for the reporting so we can supplement that. Like maybe with a card, everyone who donates by credit card, we can take name, address, whatever it is that we need from them.
Yeah. So if you go to the INN the FAQ, there's a thing that says a match cover sheet template, which is an Excel spreadsheet. I'm adding this to the group chat right now, and I believe you're going to need just the source, so the person, the date of the donation, and the amount. And I would maybe I think Stripe Square, you'll be able to get all of that, I think.
Well, Square could be a little weird. It doesn't always include the person's full name.
Okay.
I've found that I think it depends on how they set up their own account. Because I totally relied on it once, and we had a kind of a hard time tracking down a few of those people.
Yeah, so I think having a card is great. Like if you could just, make a note, like link that whatever Square transaction number with the donor and their email, because you're going to want to follow up with them afterwards too, down the road. So yeah, just make sure you have all the tools set up so you can properly document it.
Yeah, thank you.
Mm-hmm. Okay, I see something. I'm trying to go back. Given what Christina said about earned revenue not counting towards NewsMatch, do in-kind contributions count? Someone paying for all the food at the event? No, I don't believe that counts because these are supposed to be donations towards your organization to support the mission of your organization rather than actually, subsidizing something or getting something in return. Oh, is there another question from Kelsey?
Yeah, sorry. You mentioned Facebook, the donate button.
Mm-hmm.
What is up with that? Like you can't even tell who gave how much.
Exactly.
And why do they have that? It just seems insane to me.
Well, I think for, a lot of causes or individuals who are trying to support something, it's a great way for them to crowdfund for a specific cause and direct their money towards that. Mm-hmm. And it may work for you guys down the road, but I believe, for the sake of NewsMatch, because it doesn't provide that same amount of reporting, it's not something that we would recommend for NewsMatch in particular. Mm-hmm. And in general, you do want it to be able to attach an email to the donor so you can properly... Yeah.
Or at least the name. Yeah. It's weird.
Yeah.
Okay.
So, if you can find a way to shorten your link to coloradoindependent.com/give, And if everybody can somehow find a quick way to just spit out that donation page, just copy and paste that into everything that you do on Facebook. Okay, I have a question about, we're hosting an event in October on stress and mindfulness that is free. What about suggested donations? Yes, do suggested donations, and just make sure that you are able to link back who that gift came from. And again, you're not required to report their email, but you should capture that anyway so you can still follow up with them. Okay, let's see. Hosting a free event on a health topic in October. There will be opening remarks. Is this the best time to make a pitch for NewsMatch? I think it all depends on when you want to launch your campaign. If you're planning on launching October, sure. Just remember in the big picture, a long campaign can be really grueling on your staff and for your donors. But again, you don't want to miss out on an opportunity to, make an ask in front of a captivated audience. All of those gifts will be matched dollar for dollar in October already. So yeah, I would make an ask. Let's see. We're starting a membership program. Gifts over $35 will get you exclusive insiders email throughout the year. Will those memberships count? Yes, those memberships will count. I know a lot of people don't have membership programs, and I know members and donors are sometimes synonymous for a lot of news organizations. If the gift comes in during the NewsMatch window, it will count. I know there has been other questions from INN members, like, somebody gave $10 a month for the entire, $10 a month. Can they, in January, can they count $120 towards NewsMatch? No, the money has to come in within the course of the NewsMatch window. And also I think giving exclusive insiders emails as a benefit is a great thing. Some people want to give out swag or mugs or something like that. You can do that in general for a membership, but you also have to be really mindful about goods and services and tax deductibility. So there's some IRS language that I can share with everybody about those thresholds and how much it costs to produce those products. But generally speaking, these gifts are supposed to deepen engagement with news organizations and keep them tax deductible. So there's a question from Robert. Could you please clarify your question? I'm unclear on how this few graphs you write are communicated. These go in emails to those who are there. Are you talking about the follow-up?
Yes, you were saying you said write a couple of graphs even before the event starts. And so I want to know, what do you do with those graphs? You said add in some quotes from the event, and who does that go to?
Okay, so when we did that fake news event, before we planned everything, we knew that this was going to be a great opportunity for follow-up. There was a lot of buzz just in general about this topic, and we also had the event was sold out. We reached capacity. So we continued to build a wait list, and we knew that we had to email everybody on our list, people who were there, and we tweaked the communications afterwards. So before the event, I just wrote out a couple sentences. It was like, thank you so much for, last night we held this event about fake news, and we had this, and I listed all the different speakers. The conversation was really lively. We talked about blah, 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 and I left those parts blank. And in the end, I filled in with, our editor-in-chief gave a taxonomy of fake news. The managing editor of Snopes talked about this. We also had a librarian talked about how to get information, how to teach kids how to be critical about their information sources. And this, even though this conversation is dominating national headlines, we are a local leader in having this dialogue in our community. Please support us. And so that's kind of just like the blanket outline that I wrote. And for those who were there, I pulled a list of everybody who was there, and I acknowledged them for being there. Thank you so much. You know, your engagement with our news organization is the reason why we can do this. For those who weren't there, I tweaked the opening and said, you missed out on an incredible event. You know, if you want to stay involved, please consider becoming a member and you'll get access to these events year round. And so you're weaving in pitches here and there. Does that make sense? Yeah. I think just getting the outline written and just thinking about who you're going to send it out to is just the hardest part, especially when you're so exhausted from planning an event. So if you're able to do that ahead of time and just think ahead, you'll be able to execute it the day after.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm. Any thoughts about the ideal size of an event and its relation to whether or not people give? Do you think trying to get 100% participation, even if you only give 5, is a worthwhile strategy? So I think the ideal size, it's going to be different for your goals. Like if you're having if NewsMatch isn't on the line, I would say, I mean, I think that's really hard. It all depends on the focus and the topic of your event. Since we're all talking about events within the context of NewsMatch, I would say more the better, because those are people that you can solicit donations from. But at the same time, you're going to also want to make sure that it's a manageable size for you and your staff.
Yeah, can I just pop in here for a second? It's
yeah.
Julie. Hi. So the event that I'm thinking about doing and still trying to pull together would be something that's a little bit more social.
Yeah.
So, you know, just like not a happy, well, more or less a happy hour, but something from like 6 to 8 p.m. With food and drinks, a little bit, you know, schmoozing and and maybe a little game show.
Okay. How many have you done events like this before, and like what has the turnout been like?
The only kind of events that we've done before, we have a podcast called The Pub, which is about public media. We've done live versions of that at some public media conferences. And we've had anywhere from, you know, 30 to 70 people show up at them. We've never asked for money. But they're like a captive audience. This would be something that we would be inviting. We're here in DC, so we would be inviting employees of NPR, PBS, WEDA, WAMU, you know, the stations in the area, the people who work in public media. We'd be inviting them. It would be a space that can't hold. You know, it's like a standing room space. It's in an art gallery. So it's like a schmoozing thing. I mean, we can have some tables. And then we would try to have something light, some sort of light entertainment portion.
Yeah. So I think in your case, it sounds like potential for a great event. And since you have the capacity to invite other people, I would say if you're going to be able, you know, just, I wouldn't focus on the size, but I would focus on who is there. I would require an RSVP list of everything. You know, in the days leading up to your event, I would comb through who's going to be there. I would flag any sort of major donors, people who might be new to you, people who might be affiliated with a foundation or a corporation, and I would divide those up and assign them to different staff members that are going to be attending and working your event. And I would have a game plan for the people who are going to be there and not worry about the size in general. Make an effort to do a little bit of research, look up these people, and make sure you had a chance to talk to them. If you're able to figure out what areas of reporting they like, introduce them to that reporter who, you know, that they're a fan of or whose work that they've been having, and just make notes on who you talk to and follow up with them afterwards. So don't think about the size, think about who are the key people who are going to be there.
Okay.
Yeah, I hope that helps.
Thanks.
Yeah. And so planning a birthday party for your 5th year birthday party. That sounds like fun. I think you could have some fun 5-year themed crowdfunding related to that. Everybody give $5. Everybody give $50. 25, 5 years behind us, 5 years to go. So I think there's good potential there. Does anybody else have other questions? Do you guys all feel good for NewsMatch?
I feel a lot more ready for having gone to these sessions, so thank you. I also realize that we all have a lot of work to do in the next 3 months.
But we all have time on our side, so that's key.
Yeah.
Yeah. And, you know, Tristan and I are available if you guys need any help. I'm just going to type in my email. You guys might already know it. Feel free. Oh, we're expecting to know the total amount in early October. Yes. That number will be available, I believe, October 1st. If you haven't submitted your NewsMatch application yet, do it before September 30th. If you don't submit it, you're not eligible for the match.
If we have a particular situation with a particular kind of event that we don't think is particularly relevant to everyone on the line right now, could we have a phone conversation?
Absolutely.
Okay. I'd like to have a phone conversation with you at some point about an event we're putting together.
Yeah, of course.
Maybe today.
Yeah. Send me an email and we'll find a time.
Okay, thank you.
I also wanted, oh, sorry. Go ahead. I'm going to pull up something.
Oh, I just had a really quick question. I wanted to make sure I didn't forget to mention this. I brought it up with Mara yesterday or 2 days ago. Have we made any progress on the whole INN helps us recruit other community foundations to support us in our NewsMatch, like sort of partners in the match?
So Democracy Fund Ignite is still working on putting together a letter that you could use as a calling card, and they're going to reach out to people within their wheelhouse. There was a little bit of a hiccup with Irma and Knight being in Miami. So they're definitely working on that, and we should have updates soon. And maybe we can send something out. I know we're not going to be meeting again, but I think maybe we could just send out an e-blast afterwards.
Okay, I just wanted to make sure I was on top of whatever's going on there. Thanks.
Hi everyone, it's Fran. Just real quick, you're going to want to be on that webinar next week. Knight, Democracy, and Miami Foundation are going to be on that webinar next week. Miami is going to be able to answer any questions you have about the NewsMatch application. They're also going to be talking about what you need to document to make sure you get your match. And then Knight and Democracy will be talking about what data they're going to need as part of the evaluation of the success of NewsMatch. So if you want to know you're going to get to talk to the person who is managing the application process, as well as the matching process. So I highly suggest that you be on that webinar next week, because literally the people from the foundations are going to be on, they're the ones conducting in part the webinar. So please make sure you're on that one, okay? Because these are the training to get you ready, but this is like, if you don't do these things, whatever you do in the training, and if you miss these documentation pieces, that can affect your ability to collect the match. So please make sure you're on that call next week. I'll send something else out this week through the listserv. So if you haven't registered already, you can get the registration link, or you can just email me and I'll send that to you.
And if you want to register now,
you guys are probably the ones already registered.
Sorry to interrupt. I was just going to say, if you want to register now, I just put the link in the chat.
Great. Thank you, Mara, for that.
Fran, I have a question. Do you know if the Knight Foundation and the Democracy Fund will be doing some research during this fund drive on best practices and things that work and don't work, and how people are responding to these kinds of things?
I think what they're I think they're going to use a lot of the data from NewsMatch to kind of develop some of that best practice. That's why they are going to be very specific about what information they want as an evaluation. Because part of what they're trying to do is to see what are the best practices, so that we can share that moving forward. If NewsMatch never happened again, what can people learn about how to do this on a consistent basis. But yeah, they're very much interested in gathering the data around what worked, what didn't work. You know.
Yeah, I think that'll be really helpful, and I'm glad, because we're operating under the assumption that this won't be here next year, and that we need to learn from this for the next go around.
That would be my goal in this process, is what can I learn about how to do this? And that's what these trainings have been. And then there's the execution part, of course. And then how do I keep this so I can replicate it year after year? Because to assume that this will continue, it would be pie in the sky, I think. So the best thing is, how can we gear ourselves and build up the capacity for the organization so you can kind of do this on your own moving forward. I hope that answers your question, Lau. Great.
Robert, I put in for everybody, I put in the example of the follow-up letter that I sent after that fake news event in the chat.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
All right, if we don't have any other questions, do you have any last thoughts, Christina or Tristan, that you want to bring up before we sign off?
Keep it simple. Just don't overthink anything. Don't be swayed by, are we sending out too much emails, or is this, just keep it simple and just ask.
Yeah, and feel free to ask us if you have any questions, and also keep in mind cost benefits. So, you want to be able to do the most with the least amount of resources, and focus on the kind of key things like getting email addresses so that you can directly communicate your message to constituents. And, the meet and greets, kind of the low pressure meet and greet, happy hour type things are really nice, because people can just kind of chat, they can get to know you, and so those are kind of really easy wins that you can do. So if you focus on that, it'll be a lot less stress for you.
And did you just see Julie's question about setting up a Slack channel for NewsMatch?
I think we can explore that, or try to figure out a way to field those questions, or I think Tristan and I can talk offline to see what we could do.
We'll try to figure something out.
Yeah. So Mary and I are going to be at ONA, and we're setting up some office hours on that Friday. So I'll see if we can post it on the FAQ, or do a follow-up to everybody who might be there. If you want to set up some time to speak with us, 20 minutes, 30 minutes, and just talk about your campaign one-on-one, we're happy to do that. So.
In the existing News Revenue Hub Slack channel that was for training, can we just convert that now to NewsMatch, or was that not exclusively for?
That's probably not the way we will go with that, but
okay.
that's probably we'll look at it, and
yeah,
if that's the best way, then we will. But there may be other easier ways to do it.
Okay.
Thanks. Thanks everyone for doing these webinars.
Yeah. Can't believe it's the last one.
Thanks to Christina. She always does such a good job with them. So,
Yeah, don't hesitate to reach out if you have any questions. We're here to help.
Great. All right. Well, it looks like we don't have any more questions. So I guess this is for the last webinar, the last NewsMatch webinar. So
I feel like it's graduation. We're all ready to move the tassel over.
Yeah. Good job, everyone, and good luck.
There's one last thing, you guys. This is the last News Revenue Hub in terms of prepping, but remember, next week is a webinar. We have a Give Gab webinar on how to set up your profiles also coming up. And then October 18th, there is a INN Labs webinar on plugins to help you be able to maximize your websites for donations. So yes, this is the end, but not really.
That's very true. All right, well, I am going to end the meeting now, unless anyone else has anything else. But I think.
Bye, everyone.
Bye.
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 Can I ask one question? I so am late. Did anybody talk about what survey vehicle they're using? Which survey company?
Christina, Tristan, or anyone else?
What do you mean by survey company?
To send out surveys from the first, this is not specific to what you guys were talking about today. I just thought somebody else was here. Maybe somebody else knew. In some of the earlier INN, they were talking about having us send out surveys. You know, there's Monkey or other survey companies, and I've been trying to figure out which one to use. And
At the hub, we use SurveyMonkey, but you can also, there are also other free tools, like the Google survey tool has some kind of bells and whistles in it that allow you to do question logic. So you may want to check out that first. Okay. And if it's not enough, then SurveyMonkey. SurveyMonkey has a little bit more advanced analytics and things like that. But all we really do is we put it in either one of those and then send a link in an email, and that's the whole process basically.
Okay, thank you. I'm sorry I missed this. I really wanted to be here. We had a deadline thing going. And
That's okay. We'll have it on recording, right?
Yep, we'll send out the recording afterward.
Cool.
So you should be good. All right. So we just have a few participants left. I'm going to end the meeting now. Hope that's okay. But as Christina and Tristan said, if you have any questions, feel free to email them. And also general questions, feel free to email info@inn.org too, because INN can certainly answer some of your questions as well. So thanks everyone. See you again soon and good luck.